This is part 2 of the Divi Builder plugin tutorials. You can build any website combining the Divi Builder plugin with any theme of your liking. As you might be used to by now, I have put all videos together and will give you, below every video in this series of 3 so far, a full index of what part of the video is dealing with what part of the Divi Builder plugin tutorials. You will find all links to these parts below the video on YouTube or on the special page on www.wordpressexamples.com. All videos, by the way, are courtesy Nick Roach, owner of Elegant Themes. We also have a special offer if you don't have a subscription of Elegant Themes yet. You can also find a link to that offer below the video. Last but not least, it will be appreciated if you subscribe to the WordPress Examples YouTube channel. Click the little red icon in the corner of the video to subscribe now and stay up to date with great tutorials and free WordPress stuff. Thanks for watching.
In this tutorial, I'll be giving you a basic overview of the Divi Builder Call to Action module. The Call to Action module is a simple combination of title, text, and a button, and it's the easiest way within Divi to create a call to action that invites your visitors to do something, such as request a quote, contact us, sign up or purchase your product. It's basically just inviting them to click a button, and that button will take them to the desired action. So if you're running a web design agency, for example, you want to make sure that people have a clear avenue for contacting you and getting in touch and possibly becoming one of your clients. And so at the bottom of each page, you might want to add a call to action module that says, request a quote, click here for a free quote, and so on. And so here you can see a call to action module. It's been placed with a blue background. Here's a call to action module with no background color. This one's been placed next to an image, and here's one placed in its own section, and so the section has been created with a background image, and so it really creates this full width call to action experience. And so let's jump into the module settings, and I'm going to show you how to use the call to action module. So here's a basic about our team page, and I'd like to place a call to action at the bottom of this page to invite visitors to request a quote from our team, our web design team. So I'm going to edit this page. At the very bottom, I'm going to add that call to action module. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to add a new section. It's going to be a 1 column row. And I'm going to click Insert Modules and find the call to action module, which is right here. And clicking that will bring up the call to action module settings. And with all Divi Builder modules, settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general philosophy, everything you need to create a really great page, a really great website using Divi can be found inside the General Settings tab. There's no need to move on to these other tabs unless you want more control over the design. And if you want to really customize the design of the module, you can jump into the Advanced Design Settings tab, and here we have controls for basically every single part of the module. You can customize colors, fonts, letter spacing, all of that great stuff. And if you would rather just use custom CSS, if you're CSS savvy, well, feel free to jump into the CSS tab and add CSS to the module as well. I have some great tutorials that go over these 2 tabs if you want to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So first up is the title. That's the that appears first in the call to action module in a larger font size. And you want to have this, be relevant to whatever action you want your visitors to take. So in this case, I will say request a free quote. You'll want to input a URL for your button that will, perhaps go to your contact page or something like that. So you would input that here. You can choose to have that link open up in a new tab or to open up in the same tab. You can customize the button text. If you don't input any custom button text, it'll just say click here, which is also fine. You can choose to have a background color for the call to action module. If you add a background color, it's also going to add some padding around the box to ensure that the text inside of it doesn't butt up against the edges. So I'll say yes, I'll use a background color, and I'll use a blue background color that's already selected. And depending on the background color, you're going to want to choose to have either light or dark text. If you have a dark background color, choose light text. And if you have a light background color, choose dark text. That way the text will be readable for your visitors. You can choose the text orientation, either left, centered, right, or justified. And then you're going to want to input the content of the call to action module, which will be displayed below the title but above the button. So I'm just going to paste in some random text here. Finally, we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we don't need to worry about for this tutorial. If at any time you want to get a preview of your module, you can click the preview icon here, and it's going to give us a preview of our call to action module as it's currently been designed inside of the section that it's in. And you can switch through our responsive design testing tabs here to get an idea what that module looks like on different devices. And you can click the X here to bounce back into the settings. For example, I think I want to have this text-oriented center instead. If I change that and then take a look, you can see that the text will have been changed to a centered orientation. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to want to add some custom button text, like, maybe I'll just have it say request a quote. And I'll save and exit. I'm going to update the page, and then we can take a look at what that looks like on the front end. So I'm going to scroll down the bottom of the page. You can see our new section has been added with our CTA module. Now, as I showed you before, it's also a great effect to get a full width CTA by customizing the section background color, which I can do as well, and then removing the background color from the CTA module. So you can do that. I can move into the CTA module, and I'm going to say do not use a background color, so it's just going to be transparent. And then instead, I'm going to apply the background color to the parent section. And you can also apply a background image as well if you like, but in this case I'm just going to do a color. Try making it purple. And again, you can get a preview of this if you want. So it's looking pretty good. I'm going to save and exit. And then take a look at our page again, refresh. And you can see we've created this full width CTA effect, which is really cool. Really grabs your attention. You're going to see some great conversions from that and from using this module in general. And as I touched on briefly, you can always explore those advanced design settings tabs as well if you want more control over the appearance of the module. For example, I might want to change the font of the header, make it bold and all caps, maybe even make it a little bit bigger. And save. You can take a look at that as well. I'm going to refresh the page on the front end. You can see that the title's been made a lot bigger. Font has been changed, it's all caps. You might want to do for the same for the button, really, to make it stand out. You have custom button settings as well. So if I move back into this call to action module, I might want to use custom button styles. I could choose a button text color. That's a little different. I could make the button size a lot bigger if I wanted to. Really grab the visitor's attention. I could create a custom background color. I could remove the border radius. There's really so much you can do here. So I can take a quick preview. You can see my button's really changed a lot. It's gotten bigger. It's green. It's really going to grab people's attention. So there's so much you can do with these advanced design settings. So have fun exploring those. And that's a basic overview of the Divi Builder call to action module. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to use the Divi Builder login module. What this does is place a login form on your post or page. It allows your visitors to log in to their WordPress account. Now, you may be using your WordPress account for different things. For example, you might want to allow your subscribers to log in or your authors to log in. Or you might be using it as a CRM system, or you might be selling products through WooCommerce. There's various reasons you might want to have a login form that allows people to log into the back end of the dashboard to access their members area. And so you can use the login form to present that login form in a great way. Now, if you're already logged in, you're not going to see a login form. So if you're wondering why when you add a login form to the page, when you preview the page, there's no login form, well, that's because you're already logged in. So there's no need to log in again. In this case, here's a preview of the login form as it appears when you're logged out, and you can you can add a background color, a title, some text, And then there's just a standard login form here, forgot password link, just standard login stuff. So here's an example with the blue background, here's with no background, and so on. So here's an example of a page, and I'm going to add a login form to the page just to give you an example of how this module works. So I might have a blog page, or I might have some kind of membership page, and in the sidebar I'm going to add that login module so that my customers can log into their account. So I'm going to edit the page, and then in the sidebar here I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for that login module. So here it is right here. And once you click that, you're going to be presented with the various login module settings. And as with any Divi Builder module, settings are broken up into 3 different tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. A general rule of thumb: everything you need to create an awesome page with the Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings. But if you want to have even more control over the appearance of your module, then you can move on into the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS tabs to customize just about everything. And here inside these tabs, you can really customize every aspect of the module and really change it and make it look however you want it to match your own unique style. So you can adjust font sizes, colors, fonts themselves, line height, letter spacing, padding, margins, everything. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the General Settings tab. So if you want to learn more about Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS, be sure to check out those tutorials on in the documentation, because I have individual tutorials for both of those. So moving on to the General Settings, the first thing is the title. This is what appears at the top of the form in a larger text. So I might just say, log in here. Now you can also choose to have the user redirected back to the page that they logged in at, or you can have them just log in to the actual WordPress dashboard. For example, you might have some kind of locked content on the page that is only unlocked when you log in, and in that case it would be more intuitive just to redirect the person right back to the page they started at, and then once they're logged in, they'll be able to view whatever content you had hidden for logged in users. You can choose to use a background color, and if you do choose to use a background color, you can customize that background color here. So use whatever color you want. I'll change it to green, and you can choose the text color as well. So if you have chosen a dark background color, you probably want to use light text so it becomes readable. And if you chose a light background color or no background color and your parent section is white, well, you'd want to use a dark text color in that case so that it's readable as well. Next up is the text orientation, and you can choose between left, right, centered, or justified. In this case, I'm going to keep it centered. And then you can also add a bit of text below your title, which will appear above the opt-in form. So I'm just going to put in some random text here, but you might want to describe what the login form is for, or invite your users to log in to access their account. Now, at any time when you're configuring a module, you can get a quick preview of what you're working with by clicking the preview icon, and that will render the current module inside of its parent section, and you can get an idea how it looks. So here I've added the login module here, and since I'm logged in, I actually don't see the form, which is something I mentioned earlier. And so yeah, I have my green background color, and it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to save and exit, and I'm going to drag this to the top because I actually want it to appear at the top of my sidebar. I'm going to update the page and take a look on the front end. So I'm going to go back here to my I'm going to take a look at this page here in logged out form so you can get an idea what it looks like when you're logged out. Here we go. I'll copy and paste this URL real quick. Okay, so here we have our page. I'm logged out, and you can see the form here has been added to our sidebar. It says login here, and then the visitor can input their username and password to log in. Now, like I said, there's also various advanced design settings that you can configure. So just to give you a very brief overview of those, you can customize all kinds of stuff in that advanced design settings tab. So I'm going to bring up the module settings again and switch over to advanced design settings. And you can, for example, change the header font. Maybe make it bold and all caps. Adjust the size if you want to. You can change the color, letter spacing, all kinds of stuff. For this particular module, the custom button styles are nice. So you could change everything about the button, from size to color to spacing to border, anything you want here. So, for example, let me change the background color to something like red, which will really stand out against the green. And using the preview functionality is great here. So I'm going to preview what I've changed so far. And you can see I got the bigger title here with it's just bold and all caps. And I also increased the font size. So that's looking good. So I'm going to save and exit. And then to get a look at that button I created, I'm going to refresh our logged out page. And you can see, so I've changed the button to red, and then our title got a lot bigger and bolder, and it's starting to look really good. So I think I'm happy with it. I'm going to keep it there. And yep, that's a basic overview of the Divi Builder login module. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Builder number counter module. Put simply, the number counter is a fun way to display numbers. You pick a number, choose its size and color, and then as you scroll down the page, the number counts up from 0 to the number you defined. Here's some examples. You can also add a percentage sign, and like I said, change the colors to look good on your current section background image or color. So, for example, here I have a nice About Us page, and I would like to display some stats about our team. Perhaps, the amount of customers we have, the amount of employees we have, the amount of number of years we've been in business, that kind of stuff. Just kind of general stats in a fun way that show our potential customers that we're a legitimate business. So I'm going to edit this page. And down towards the bottom, I'm going to add a new section and add some number counters. So first up, add my section, and then choose how many columns you'd like to have. Typically, you probably want to put a number counter in each column on its own, instead of placing multiple number counters in a single column, because the number counters will be stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to just do 3 1/3 columns. And I'm also going to adjust the background color of this section. I want to use a dark background color or image, so I can choose a nice background image here. Maybe something along the lines of, there we go. And then in each of these columns, we're going to add a number counter. So I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for the number counter module, which is right here. And once you click that, you'll be greeted with the number counter module settings. And as with any Divi Builder module, these settings are broken up into 3 categories: general settings, advanced design settings, and custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to create a wonderful page using the Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings tab. But if you'd like even more control over the appearance of your module, then you could venture into the Advanced Design Settings tab, which gives you all kinds of options, such as font size, letter spacing, line height, choosing the font itself, spacing, all that kind of stuff. And finally, if you know CSS, if you're CSS savvy, well, you can jump into the Custom CSS tab and just apply CSS to the module yourself. Now, I have some great tutorials about how to use the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS, so be sure to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So first up is the title, which will be displayed below the number in a smaller font. So, for example, I'm creating 3 numbers here, 3 stats, which I mentioned before: customer count, years in business, and our team member count. So let's say we have 2,500 customers. Customers. I'm just going to type in customers here. And then for the number, I'm going to type in 2,500. You can also choose to display a % sign or not. And since we're not dealing with percentages, this time I'm going to turn off the % sign. Here you can choose the counter text color, which is the color of the actual number itself. And so we're kind of working with a dark blue background image. And so I want to kind of maybe choose a complementary color such as green, maybe like a blue-green, and make it rather light. So yeah, something like that was going to look great. Next up is the text color, which affects the title, not the number, which is that title we defined earlier, which in this case is customers. And since we're working with a dark background image, we want our text color to be light, so I'm going to switch that to light. But if you're working with a light background color, you'd want to choose dark for that text color to make sure it's readable. Finally, we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we won't be using in this tutorial. Now, if at any time you want to get a preview of your module, you can click the preview button down here to get a look at what you've created so far, and that will render the module inside of the current section. As you can see, we've added this background image to the section here, and you can also switch between our responsive design testing tabs to get a look at how your module responds to various screen sizes. So moving back here, I'm pretty happy with this number counter, so I'm going to save and exit. And then since I want to create two more, I'm just going to duplicate this twice to speed things up and move them over to their respective columns. And we're going to edit these and change the settings. So in this case, I want to do years in business, which would be, so I'll say years, and we'll say maybe we've been in business 25 years. I'm going to change the color to more of an orange. And we're going to save that. And for the final one, we want to do team members. So type in team members here. Let's say we have 16 team members. And again, I'm going to want to choose a new color. Maybe a pink or purple would look nice. Okay. And like I said before, you can get a preview of this by clicking the preview icon and also test it out in different screen sizes. So this is looking pretty good. I'm going to save and exit and update the page, and we can take a look at that module on the front end. So viewing our page now and scrolling down to our number counter at the bottom, here we have the number counter, and it counts up to each of the three numbers we selected. Now, just to quickly touch on the advanced design settings, which I kind of skipped over earlier, you can also adjust the appearance of that module and each element inside the module. So, for example, if I wanted to adjust the font or font size, I could do that. So, for example, for the number font, maybe I want to make it bold, and maybe I want to make it smaller. I can scroll down to maybe 50 pixels instead of 72. And take a look at that. And as you can see, the number's gotten smaller. I've also made it bold and changed the font so it looks a lot different. And so you can completely customize all the elements of the module using those advanced design settings. And that is a basic overview of the Divi Builder number counter module. In this tutorial, I'm going to give you a basic overview of the Divi Builder Accordion module. What the Accordion module is a collection of content toggles that can be opened and closed. And as you open one toggle, the toggle that was previously open becomes closed. So here's an example of one single Accordion module with various different toggle content added. So if I choose the plus icon here, it's going to open up this set of content and close the other one, and so on, and you can open up each one by clicking it. And what this does is kind of it consolidates space, so a great way to use the Accordion modules for like an FAQ page. If you have a bunch of FAQs, for example, that's how it's used here. These are kind of questions, and you can open up each one to see the answer, and it saves space and it just looks nice. So that's basically what the Accordion module is. And so now I'm going to dive into the settings and show you how to configure this module. So first thing I'm going to do is create a new page. I'm going to choose to use the Divi Builder. I'm going to click the Insert Columns to insert a column. I'm going to use a one column here, and then I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and find the Accordion module. So here's the Accordion module. I'm going to click that, and this will bring up the Accordion module settings. Now, as with every Divi module, the settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general philosophy, everything you need to configure the module and create an amazing page can be found within the General Settings tab right here. But if you want to get a little more advanced and really have full control over the design of the module, then you can dive into the Advanced Design Settings, which has all kinds of great settings, such as custom colors and fonts and font sizes, font weights, line heights, all that great stuff. You have full control here. But for now, we're just going to focus on the general settings. We have another tutorial for Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS if you'd like to check that out. So here in the general settings, we have our basic settings. And at the bottom here, we have 3 buttons, which is saving. Here you can save the module once you've configured it. In the center here, you have a preview icon that can be clicked at any time to get a preview of the module as you configure it. And here you can save to the Divi library to use the module in the future if you so choose. So with the Accordion module, before we can configure the module, we first have to add our first content toggle. And I'm going to do that by clicking the Add New Item button here. And then you'll be able to configure the 2 pieces of content, which is the title and then the content. The title is the link that is clicked, and the content is what's shown in the box once you click that title. So we might say, like, what is your refund policy? And then whatever our refund policy is, we might paste that into the content block here. And so we've created our first question in the FAQ and added our first answer and save. And then you can see the first item's been added here. And then we can add our next item. How about where are you located? Paste in the answer, save. And so now we have 2 items in our accordion. And like I said, you can click the preview icon here to get a preview of what we've created so far. And here it is. What is the refund policy question? Where are you located? And you can click to open either of these. When you're in the preview mode, you can also toggle between our different responsive design testing tabs to see what your module looks like at various screen sizes. And so I'm happy with this module, so I can save and exit. And then publish the page. And then we can take a look at our page in the front end. And you can see that Accordion module has been added. And so this would be great for a contact us page, for example. So maybe I'll add a new row and add a contact module. Place that above the accordion. Be able to go into the accordion here and add some new questions. I'm just going to duplicate them for now, just to give you the effect of a 4 toggle accordion. And then we can head back to our page here. You can see we have like a basic kind of about us contact page of a contact form and a bunch of accordion toggles here that can be opened and closed by your visitors. Now, like I said, you can also dive into the advanced design settings if you want. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but you can just customize basically everything inside of this tab here. You could, let's say we want to change the toggle title font. Might want to change it to one of the various Google fonts we support. Maybe we'll want to make it bold and all caps. And get a preview here of what we've created. So you can get a preview and you can see the title has now been made bold in all caps. You might even want to change the background color. So we could do that as well. Maybe you want to make it purple. Maybe you want to change our text color to white. Get a preview of that. And you can see that's completely changed the look and feel of the toggle module, the toggles. And it's open and closed. And so you really have full control over everything here inside the advanced design settings. So that's a basic overview of the accordion module inside the Divi Builder. In this tutorial, I'm going to give you a basic overview of the Divi Builder bar counter module. Now what this module is it creates a horizontal bar graph, and you can adjust the percentage that each of those bars is filled and create some like statistics displays as you see here. And you can adjust, like I said, the percentage for each bar, and you can adjust the colors as well, as I've done here, to make it fit in with your section background. Now I have a page here. Let's say it's like an About Me page, and I like to display some stats about myself and my skills. Let's say I'm a web designer, and I like to say tell my clients how sophisticated I am in certain programming languages. So I could edit this page, and inside of this empty column here, I'm going to insert the bar counters module. So I'm going to click that Insert Modules button and look for the bar counters module here. And once I click that, it's going to open up the module settings. As with all Divi Builder modules, settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. Now, as a general philosophy, everything you need to configure that bar counter module and make a great bar counter can be found inside the General Settings tab. But if you really want to dig deep and get more control over the design, you can move over to the Advanced Design Settings tab, which has all kinds of great settings like font size, font color, font selection, line height, letter spacing, all this great stuff. And you can basically customize the bar counter to look however you want it to. And you can even move over to the Custom CSS tab and add custom CSS for each part of the module, as well as the overall wrapper of the module. Now I have created tutorials that go into each of these tabs in more detail, but in this tutorial I'm just going to focus on the General Settings tab. And so for each bar counter module is actually a collection of bars, as you saw before, and you can add a new bar to the bar counter module by clicking the Add New Bar Counter button first. So let's do that. And there's really only 2 things to configure for each individual bar within your set of bars, which is the title and the percentage that you would like that bar to be filled. So I'll just give it a title, let's say PHP, and I'll give myself a proficiency of 80%. So let's say I'm 80% proficient in PHP. I'm going to save. I'll add another one, say CSS, and let's say I'm 99% proficient in CSS. Add one more for HTML. And HTML, let's just say I'm 30% proficient. Okay, so I've created a set of stats here, 3 bars. And now that I've created the actual content of my bar module, I can move on to adjusting the design. So I can choose a text color, which will affect the text within the bar, above the bar actually. So it's the text that appears, the title text that appears above each bar. So if I have a light background, I'm going to want a dark color for that. And then you can adjust the background color of the bar itself. So this is the negative space of the bar. So this is what is not filled up. So if I have an 80% filled bar, 20% is going to be unfilled, and that background color will show through there. Next up is the bar background colors. This is the filled portion of the bar. So I have it set to blue here. You can choose to have percentage signs at the end of those numbers or not. So if I turn this off, the percentages are going to be removed from the bar counter. And if at any time you want to get a preview of the module you're creating here, you can click the preview icon, and that'll give you a preview of the module you're working with placed inside of the current section that it's in. And so I have this text module in this section over here, and in this column I have my bar module, and I can flip through different screen sizes here to get an idea of how this module responds on different devices such as phone and tablet and desktop. And as you change things, you can jump in and out of that preview. So if I want to change my bar to purple, I could do that and then click the preview icon, and you'll see that the bar is turned to purple. And so I'm going to save and exit now and update my page, and we'll take a look at that bar counter on the front end. And there you go. So my bar counter has been added with my 3 bars, and you can add as many bars as you want. Here's the percentages I added: 80, 99, and 30. and the title of each one, PHP, CSS, and HTML. Like I said, you can also jump into those advanced design settings if you want. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but let's say I wanted to change the title font, maybe make it bolder, maybe make it a little bit bigger, and maybe make it all caps. And if I, want to take a look at those customizations again, I can jump into the preview, and here the font has been changed. It's bigger and bolder, and so I've adjusted the style there. And you can play with these advanced design settings and really customize everything about the module. So that's a basic overview of the bar counters module in the Divi builder. In this tutorial, I'll be giving you a basic overview of the Divi Builder Blurb module. What this is a simple combination of text and icon or image, and it's commonly used to give a short blurb about your company or the features you offer or about yourself. For example, you might see this on a home page beneath a slider. For example, on this website I'm building here, I have a slider that greets the visitors, and underneath that I have 6 blurbs that goes over some of the things our company does and the features we offer. So that's an example of a blurb module. It's an icon, a title, and some text. And you can choose different icon sizes and colors. For example, here is a unique use of the blurb module where it creates a list because we're using a checkmark icon. And you can also use images. So here's some blurbs in a 1/4 column with images, and here's a blurb in a 1/2 column with an image. So let's dive into the builder and I'll show you how to configure this module. So here's a page I'm building. I would like to add a row of blurbs right under this section here. So I'm going to edit this page and scroll down, and I'm going to add a new row. And I would like to add 4 blurbs in a 4/1/4 column. So I'm going to add this column here. I'm going to drag this row up, and I'm going to click the Insert Modules button here to insert my first blurb. So I'm going to locate the blurb module, and this will open up the blurb module settings. You'll notice General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general philosophy, everything you need to configure the module and create a great blurb module is located here in the general settings, but if you'd like to get a little bit more advanced and have more control over font sizes, colors, line heights, letter spacing, all that great stuff, then you can dive into the advanced design settings, and we have all kinds of great stuff here that you can play with. And if you'd like to get a more in-depth tutorial about advanced design settings, be sure to check out our advanced design settings tutorial, as well as custom CSS. We have a tutorial about that, and you can basically apply custom CSS to individual parts of the module. But heading back to the general settings, I'm going to go over each of these. First up is our title. This is the main title that appears below the icon in the blurb module. So I'm just going to type in blurb title. Next we have the URL. If you'd like that title to be linked somewhere, you can add a URL there. In this case, I'm going to leave it blank. If you had added a URL there, you can choose to have that URL open in a new window or not. Next up, you can choose to either use an icon for your blurb or an image. In this case, I'm going to choose to use an icon. So I'm going to click the Use Icon button. And then you get a list of all the different icons you can choose for this blurb. So I'm going to scroll down and find a nice icon for this. I selected my icon. Next up, you can choose the color of the icon. And so I can choose green here, for example. And if you ever want to get a quick preview of what you're building, you can always click the preview icon here, and that'll give you a look at your blurb. So here's my blurb with the green icon and my blurb title. So that's how it looks so far. And if I'd like to change it up and, for example, use a circle icon, which will create a colored circle, and the icon will be inside of it. Instead of just having the icon plain by itself, I can choose to do that. And then you can choose the circle color as well. So I might choose to have blue circle, but a white icon. And if you take a look at that, it's going to look a little different. There's going to be a blue circle and a white icon inside of it. So that's the circle icon option. You can choose to have a border as well if you want to add a border to the icon. So I could add, purple border. You can choose icon placement, so you can either have it above the text or to the left of the text. So I'll change it to the left. We can take a look at what that looks like. You can choose the animation for the icon. So as you scroll down the page, the icon or image you're using in your blurb is going to animate it in either from the top, left, right, bottom, or you can disable animation altogether. Finally, text color. You can choose between light and dark text color. In this case, I have a light background, so I'm going to want to stick with dark text. And then you can choose the orientation, whether it be left, centered, right, or justified. Next up is the content of our module, which will be placed in a smaller text size below our title. So I can paste in some content here. And now I've basically configured every part of the module, and I can get a look at what that looks like by clicking the preview icon. So I have my text here, my title, my circle icon with a purple border, which is now on the left instead of on top, and my content here, which is looking like kind of a lot of content, so maybe I'll shorten that up a bit. And finally, we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, if you'd like to apply any custom CSS in your child theme, for example. So I'm going to save and exit, and since I want to have 4 of these blurbs on this page, I'm going to duplicate this 3 times, bring it over, and then I'm going to switch it up on a couple of these modules. So I'm going to go into here, I'm going to switch the icon, and I'm not going to use a circle icon for this one. And I'm going to save. And maybe for this one, I'll turn off the border. Save. And let's update and see what we have so far. So now I've created 4 blurbs. Just kind of put some random content in there. Obviously, you'd want to add, content that was specific to your business. So now we have 3 blurbs here. And if you notice, I failed to change the color of this blurb icon, so it's white. You can't see it. So I'd probably want to fix that. Go back in here, change the icon color to maybe purple. And now you can see that it's going to show up when I do my preview. By the way, when you're in this preview mode, you can toggle between our different responsive tabs to get a look at that, what your site will look like at different screen sizes. Now you can also choose to use an image. So if you'd rather use an image instead of an icon, you can go up to the beginning here and turn off the use icon option and upload an image instead. So I can choose from various images here that I have uploaded. I'll choose this nice Divi logo and save. And if we take a look at our site now, you'll see that we have 4 blurbs. Some of them are using icons. One of them is using an image, as you can see here, that I just added. Some of them have a border, others don't. And yeah, that's a basic overview of the Blurb module. And like I said, there's a bunch of different layouts you can create with this. So if you go back to our blurbs page that I showed you initially, you can choose to center the icons, which will allow them to be much bigger. So right now, when they're on the left, they have less room, and so they'll be a bit smaller. And you can have images as well, and depending on the column size that you place the module, that will determine how big the image can be. So obviously, if you place a big image like this into a smaller column, it's going to shrink down accordingly. And that's a basic overview of the general settings of the Blurb module. But as with any module, you can also choose to dive into the advanced design settings. I'm not going to get too crazy with those right now, but I'll give you a brief overview of how those work. As with any module, if you go into the advanced design settings tab, you have a bunch of great settings to play with. For example, you could change the header font. You might want to make it bold and all caps, and even change the font. So if I get a preview of that, you're going to see that here my blurb title has been changed accordingly. I have bold text, all caps, different font. And you can do that for everything. So you can customize just about anything. You can customize the body font as well, and the icon, background color, background image, custom padding, all kinds of great stuff in the advanced design settings. Basically, anything you could ever want to customize can be customized here. That's the beauty of the advanced design settings. And if you want to have a little bit more control over your module's appearance, feel free to dive in there. So that's a basic overview of the Blurb module inside of the Divi Builder. In this tutorial, I'm going to give you an overview of the Divi Builder contact form module. The contact form module allows you to place a contact form on your site, which will allow people an easy way to email you. So if you have a contact us page, you can add a contact form, or on your about page, and so on. And it'll respond to the column that you place it in. Here's a contact us form in a 1/4 column, a 1/2, and a 3/4 columns. So let's jump into those settings. Here I have a page, and it's an About Me page. And on my About Me page, I like to give my potential customers the opportunity to contact me so they can request a quote, and perhaps I can land a sale. So here's the empty space I'd like to add my contact form module. So I'm going to edit my page, and within that empty 3/4 column row, I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for that contact form module. So here it is. And once you click that, it's going to open up the contact form module settings. Now, as with all Divi Builder modules, settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As the general philosophy, everything you need to create an amazing page with the Divi Builder going to be found in the General Settings tab. But if you'd like even more control and would like to get a little bit more fancy with your customization and adjust the design of the module to a higher level, you can move over to the Advanced Design Settings tab. And here you have controls for everything. You can adjust fonts, colors, text size, all of that great stuff. Or if you'd rather just use your own custom CSS, if you're CSS savvy, you can jump into that tab and add custom CSS as well. Now, I have some great tutorials that go over these 2 tabs, so be sure to check those out if you want to learn more about them. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So starting with our first setting here, the CAPTCHA setting, you can choose to use a CAPTCHA if you would like. You can enable or disable that. And that just helps to prevent spam. So before someone can submit a contact form, they're going to have to input that CAPTCHA correctly. Now, usually bots can't do that, so that's how it blocks spam. So I'm going to leave that on, and I would recommend always leaving that on. Next up is the email address that you would like your inquiries to go to. So, type in your email address here. Next up is the title, which will appear above the contact form. So I might just want to say contact me. And finally, the admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which you don't have to worry about. And that's basically it. Divi takes care of the rest. And if you ever want to have a preview of the module you're creating, you can click the preview icon here, and you can see our contact form as it appears in the current section we're working with. And you can switch between our responsive design testing tabs as well to get an idea how this module looks on different devices. So for example, if I were to remove that CAPTCHA and preview it, well, that CAPTCHA gets removed and we just have the submit button. And so I'm going to save and exit, and we can take a look how that appears on the front end. I'm going to update and then view our page. And so now my About Me page has a nice contact form. It says contact me. People can input their name, their email address, and their message, and click submit, and I'll get an email. And as I touched on very briefly, you can also adjust those advanced design settings tabs. So you can jump in here, maybe adjust that title font, maybe make it a little bigger, maybe change the font itself, maybe make it bold and caps, even adjust the text color. Maybe I'll make it purple. And if at any time you want to preview that, you can jump back into that preview mode. And so now my contact me title is much different font, different size, different font weight and color. And you can continue to customize just about everything in the module. So yeah, that's a basic overview of the Divi Builder contact form module. In this tutorial, I'll be giving you a basic overview of the Divi Builder countdown module. The countdown module basically creates a countdown to a date in the future that you specify. This is great if you're planning to launch a product and you want people to know exactly when it's going to be released. I also like to use it if my website is up and coming and it's under construction, but I plan to launch on a specific day. Well, you can use that countdown timer to show your visitors that you're working on your site and is launching soon, and kind of create some hype before the actual launch of the product, which is always good. And so here's an example of the countdown module in action. You can create a custom background color, and it'll look great in any column size. So just a few examples here. So let's jump into the settings, and I'll show you how to use the module. And in this example, I'm going to be creating that coming soon page. So let's say that I have a website that's launching in a month. Well, I can create kind of a splash page for that site and let people know that it's on the way. So here's my new page, and the first thing we're going to do is insert some columns. I'm going to choose just a single column here so that my countdown module expands the full width of the content area. And I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for that countdown timer module, which is right here. And once you click that, you're going to be greeted with the countdown timer module settings. And as with all Divi Builder modules, these settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general philosophy, everything you need to do a really great page, everything you need to create a very great page is all found in the General Settings tab. So you really don't need to venture outside of the General Settings unless you really want to get more advanced with your customization of the design. And so if you jump over to the Advanced Design Settings tab here, you're going to see all kinds of great controls that allow you to customize every single part of the module: colors, font sizes, fonts, font weights, all that great stuff. And if you know CSS, you can jump into the Custom CSS tab and just use CSS instead to customize individual parts of the module. Now, I have some great tutorials that touch on these 2 tabs, so be sure to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So starting with our first setting here, the countdown timer title, this appears above the countdown numbers. So you can say, let's say, coming soon. And next you want to choose the actual date to count down to. So today is September 30th, 2015. And let's say my website is launching in one month. Well, I can skip ahead to October here, to October 30th, and choose that as my launch date. And so the countdown timer will count down from the current time that the visitor is looking at the module to this date that I specified. Next up is the text color. So if you have a dark background color, you're going to want to choose light text. And if you have a light background color, you're going to want to choose dark text. That dark text is readable. Next, you can choose to use a custom background color or not. In this case, I'm going to choose not to use a custom background color because I'm actually going to let my countdown timer sit on top of the background color of my section. So I'm going to turn that off and just let the background color of the section shine through. Next, we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we don't need to touch on in this tutorial. So I'm going to save and exit. And like I said, I'm going to give my section a custom background color. So I'm going to change it to purple. And if at any time you want to preview your current section or module, you can click that preview icon. So that'll give you a look at what you've created so far. So here's my countdown timer module. As you can see, I failed to choose the right text color. I should have chosen light text since my background color is dark. So I'm going to go change that right now. But so let's save and exit and open up this countdown timer. And so that's what I was referring to here when I talked about text color. Since I have since I just changed it to that dark background color, I'm going to now want to switch this to light. And if I preview that, you can see that I have white text now, which looks great on my purple background. And in this preview tab, you can bounce through different responsive design testing tabs to see how that module looks at different screen sizes and different devices. And once you're happy with it, you can save and exit. And I'm going to update the page, and we'll take a look at what we have on the front end. So here we have it. It says coming soon. We have a countdown to the day that the website is launching. And below that, you might want to add, an opt-in module maybe, so people can subscribe to your mailing list, so you can tell them when the actual website launches. This is really just a great way to kind of create hype, let people know that you're building something, so that when you do launch it, you already have an audience. So that's a basic overview of the countdown timer module. And like I said, you can also do a lot in this advanced design settings tab as well. So if you jump into the advanced design settings, you can customize absolutely everything. For example, maybe I want to make that header font a little bit bigger and change the font to something else. Maybe make it bold and all caps. And if I preview that, you can see that the title has gotten a lot bigger. The font has changed. It's in all caps and bold. And so you can play with those advanced design settings and really just customize everything about the module. Yeah, so that's a basic overview of the countdown timer module. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to use the Divi Builder divider module. The divider module is used to add a horizontal division between two modules. You can have it display a line, or you can remove the line rule and just use it for spacing. So for example, here's a standard divider module as a horizontal line rule, and here's one with a custom color. So let's jump into the divider module settings and I'll show you how to set it up. Here we have a basic page, and I would like to add some distance between these modules here. I'd like to add some distance horizontally here, just to separate these two paragraphs. Perhaps there are two different distinct ideas, and I'd like to show that visually. So I'm going to edit the page, and under that main text module here, I'm going to add a divider module. So I'm going to click Insert Modules and look for that divider module. And once you click on the divider module, you'll be greeted with the divider module settings. As with all Divi Builder modules, settings are broken into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a basic philosophy, everything you need to build an awesome website can be found inside the General Settings, but if you'd like to have additional control over the appearance of your module, then you could venture into the Advanced Design Settings, where you have typically a bunch of different options that can control the appearance of that module. Now, in this case, the divider module is so simple. In fact, it's just a line. There really aren't any advanced design settings to be added. As with custom CSS, if you know CSS, you can jump right in here and start adding custom CSS to the module. And if you'd like to learn more about the advanced design settings and custom CSS tabs in general, then I have a great couple tutorials that you can check out back in the Divi Builder documentation, but in this tutorial I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So starting off here, the first setting is the color, and this will affect the color of the line rule. So if I want to make it just a gray, for example, I can choose gray. You can also choose whether or not you want to show that line rule. For example, if you remove the line rule, you could use the divider simply to add spacing between two elements on the page. In this example, I'm going to enable the line rule. And you can also choose what height you'd like the divider to be. That'll control the spacing between the two modules. And as with all modules, you have an admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we don't need to modify at this time. If at any time you want to get a preview of what your module looks like within the current section, just click the preview button here, and that'll give you a preview of the module you're working with. And as you can see, here's the divider module that I just added. And you can click the X to bounce out of the preview. And for example, if I wanted to change that color, I could change it to purple, maybe increase the height to 50 to add some real distance there. And we take another look. Well, we've added 50 pixels of distance between the two modules, and the line rule has been changed to purple. And I can save and exit now and update the page, and we can get a preview of what that looks like on the front end. So moving on to the front end of the page, if I scroll down, you can see the divider has been added here, separating these two pieces of content. Like I said, you can also choose to not show the divider, in which case, if I preview it again, all it's going to do is add space and not actually add that line rule, which is also very useful. Now, when you're inside the preview mode, you can switch between our responsive design testing tabs here to see how your page and the module you're working with looks at different screen sizes. And finally, as I mentioned before, there's typically some advanced design settings here. The only one we have for the divider module is the option to hide it on mobile. And what this will do is, for example, if you're working on a big screen on desktop and you'd like to add a lot of space between two modules, but that amount of space doesn't really translate to a mobile screen. For example, if you're adding 200 pixels of space between two images, which looks great maybe on an iMac screen, well, on an iPhone, 200 pixels is like half the screen. It's going to look really strange. So you can choose to hide it on mobile or display it on mobile, whatever works best in your particular situation. And that is a basic overview of the Divi Builder divider module. In this tutorial, I will be giving you an overview of the Divi Builder email opt-in module. The email opt-in module allows your visitors to subscribe to your mailing list. Now, at this time, the Divi Builder email opt-in module supports 3 different email service providers: MailChimp, Aweber, and FeedBurner. And it acts as the middleman between your visitors and these service providers. So MailChimp, for example, will be managing your list. You'll be using MailChimp to send your emails. But you can create a form on Divi that will allow your visitors to subscribe to that MailChimp list. And the same for Aweber and FeedBurner. And in this tutorial, I'm just going to be showing you how to use MailChimp. But like I said, it supports Aweber and FeedBurner as well. So be sure to read the text-based tutorial below this video for full instructions on how to configure each of these email service providers. And we plan to add more in the future as well. So please check below if the service you plan to use isn't included in this video tutorial. Now, here's an example of what these email opt-in modules look like. You can define a title, some content text, and onto the right or below the text is an opt-in form that the visitors can use to input their email address and then subscribe to your mailing list. A good example of where we might want to use this is in your blog. So here I've created a basic blog page, and at the bottom of the blog I would like to add the opt-in form to allow my visitors to subscribe to my list so that I can send them updates when I write new blog posts. Now, before you can actually use the module, the first thing you have to do is authorize Divi with your email service provider, and in this tutorial I will be using MailChimp. And like I said, the process is different with each provider, so be sure to check below for full details on how to configure each of the 3. So the first thing you're going to want to do for MailChimp is log into your WordPress dashboard and look for the Divi link on the left here, and then look for the theme options button. Now, if you're using the Divi Builder plugin, it's going to say plugin options, not theme options, but the basic process is the same. Once you load up the theme options, look for the MailChimp API key, and this is where you're going to want to paste that MailChimp API key, which is going to allow Divi to authorize with your account. But before you can enter it, you're going to have to locate that API key in your MailChimp account. So go ahead and log into your MailChimp account. You go to the account page and look for the extras drop-down menu and then the API keys link. And then you're going to get a list of all of your API keys that you've created if you have created them. And if you haven't, you're going to want to click the create a key button down here. And that's going to generate a new API key that you can then copy and paste into the field here. And generally you want to keep these API keys secret. In the case of this tutorial, this is just a test MailChimp account, so I'm not worried about you seeing these API keys, but generally, yeah, don't share them with anybody. And I would also, we'd recommend enabling the regenerate MailChimp lists option if you are using MailChimp. And what this will do is simply, every time you use the module, it will grab all of your lists again to make sure it's updated correctly, and you have the most recent representation of your account within the module. And once you've done that, simply click Save, and then you're ready to go. You're ready to use the module. So I'm going to swing back to our blog page here, which is where I want to use the actual opt-in module at the bottom of the blog here. I'm going to edit the page, and at the very bottom of the page, I'm going to add a new row, and within that row, I'm going to add the module. So I clicked Insert Module, and now I'm looking for the Email Opt-in module, which is right here. And once you click that, you're going to be greeted with the full list of the Email Opt-in module settings As with all Divi Builder settings, they are separated into 3 different tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general philosophy, everything you need to create a really cool and advanced page is right inside the General Settings tab. So there's no need to venture outside this tab unless you want to have even more control over the appearance of your module. In that case, you can venture into the Advanced Design Settings tab, which has a bunch of great design-related settings, and you can customize absolutely everything in here. So there's a ton of different settings to choose from. You can adjust the font size, font weight, color, line height, letter spacing, background color, border color, all that great stuff. And if you're CSS savvy, you can also jump into the Custom CSS tab and add your own custom CSS instead of using the Design Settings tab, if you so choose. And I have some great tutorials that go over the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS, so be sure to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So starting off with the first general setting, you're going to want to choose your service provider. And in this case, we'll be using MailChimp, so I have MailChimp selected here. And then you're going to want to choose the list that you are building from. So in this case, since I've authenticated my account, I will have a list of all my MailChimp lists here. I only have one, so I'm going to select that MailChimp list. And that's it. So now we've authorized MailChimp, we've selected our list, and now whenever someone subscribes using this particular module, they'll be added to this particular list inside of my MailChimp account. So moving on, the next setting is the title, which will appear above the form and above your content text in a larger font size. You might want to say something like, subscribe to our blog. You can also customize the button text. So I might just say, subscribe today with an exclamation mark. You can choose whether or not to use a background color. In this case, I will use a background color, and I'm going to use this blue background color, but you can change that if you like. And then you can choose your text color. Since I'm using a rather dark background color, I'm going to want to use light text. But if you were using a light background color, you'd want to switch this to dark text to ensure that the text is readable. Next up, you can choose your text orientation, whether it be left, right, centered, or justified. I'm going to keep it left aligned in this case. And then you can also input some content text, which will be placed below your title text, which we defined earlier. So I'm just going to paste in some text here to use. But you might want to put in some text here that encourages your visitors to subscribe. Perhaps you have a special offer or something along those lines. Whatever you can do to encourage people to subscribe to your list. Now, whenever you're building a new module and editing the settings, you can get a preview of what you've built so far by clicking this preview icon here. So I'm going to click that, and this will give me a preview of the module I'm building inside of the current section. So we have our blog module, and below that we have our email opt-in module, which I just added. And you can bounce between the responsive design testing tabs to get a peek at what your current module and section look like at different screen sizes. So this is looking pretty good. I'm going to save and exit, and then we can take a look at our page on the front end to see what we've built so far. So I'm going to update the page, then click the view page link, and here we go. We built a nice blog page, and at the bottom of our blog we have the subscribe module. Now another great way to use this would be to place it inside of a section that has a colored background as well, and then remove the background from the opt-in module, which will make it stand out even more, give it that full width effect, since the section actually butts up against all sides of the browser. So I'm going to go back and just show you how that might be done. I'm going to add a new section below, and I'm going to drag in this row, delete this other row, and no need for that. I'm going to move into the email opt-in settings, and I'm going to turn off the background color by selecting no for the use background color setting. And then I'm going to apply a background color to the section instead. So I'm going to choose a nice purple color here. And as always, we can get a nice preview of what we built so far by clicking the preview icon. So here we've changed the background color of the section to purple. Again, we can check it out in different responsive resolutions. It's looking good, so I'm going to save and exit, and we can take a look at what we built on the front end. if we scroll down, we see we have this nice full width section, and it gives it a much stronger appearance, and perhaps it'll even increase conversion rates. Now, as I mentioned before, you can also do a lot of work inside of the Advanced Design Settings tab. So I'm just going to touch on this very briefly. If you jump into the Advanced Design Settings, you can customize just about anything. For example, if I were like to maybe change the default title size, maybe make it bold and all caps, and bump up the text size a little bit, you can do that. You can also use a custom button style. So perhaps I would want to make the subscribe button stand out a little bit. Maybe that'll also catch people's eye and perhaps increase conversion rate. So I'm going to choose a custom button style, maybe change the background color to green, and take a quick peek at the preview here. Now we have a green button. We have this bigger title with a new font that's all caps and bold, and it's looking really great now. So I'm going to save that, update. And I think we've created quite a good subscribe module at this point. So let's take a look. Scroll down, and there we go. Beautiful full width section, background color, bumped up our title a little bit, green button. It's looking really good, and I think it's really going to result in a lot of new subscribers for our mailing list. And that's a basic overview of the email opt-in module in the Divi Builder.